I don't know for sure what was going on with what cameras caught Brittney Griner saying on the bench after she had fouled out against Caitlin Clark's Fever in Atlanta. I waited to comment on this until the WNBA was able to investigate it. I wanted them to issue a statement about it, but we have heard nothing from the WNBA, absolutely nothing. And Brittney Griner has not commented, which I find significant.
Skip Bayless just pulled off the sports take equivalent of dropping a nuke in a teacup. Brittney Griner's still reeling from the Caitlin Clark collision, and Skip? Oh, he came in like a wrecking ball, wearing designer outrage. Did he just expose her, or is he auditioning for the WNBA's most dramatic villain? Grab your popcorn. This one's hotter than a courtside meltdown and messier than a Twitter beef at 2 a.m. Buckle up, because the drama just hit playoff mode.
Well, Skip is asking, because Skip's like the rest of us. He believes Brittney Griner said effing white girl. And now he's asking the WNBA, are you going to really ignore this? And if it was the other way around, what would you be doing right now? This is a very high-profile name now putting some actual heat.
It was supposed to be just another game. You know, layups, zone defense, a few awkward post-game interviews about teamwork, the usual. But then Brittney Griner stepped onto the court with the subtlety of a wrecking ball on steroids. And suddenly Caitlin Clark went from rookie phenom to human crash dummy in under 2 seconds. Somewhere in the chaos, the basketball itself filed for witness protection.
That would be an immediate suspension, if not, Skip Bayless says, a career-ending statement for the white girl. Can you imagine? Now, seriously, can you imagine? Now, remember, before we move on to the audio and everything else, remember, the WNBA has come out numerous times. There's no place for hate. There's no place for racism in our league. Oh, what? It went from she didn't say that to, well, it's not racist to who cares. All without an investigation. And all of us here in Indy were saying, wait, we get painted as racist by this psychopath, Angel Reese, damn near every time her and her psychotic teammates come to town. And then we got to hear, oh, we want a safe place. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? Brittney Griner, effing white girl, is racist as hell. Why's it got to be about white? How many times have you heard that the other way? Why's it got to be about black people? Why's it got to be about white girl if you have no racist bones in your body?
Now, normally, when someone gets trucked like that mid-game, commentators start pretending it never happened faster than a PR intern scrubbing tweets. But this time, oh no. Enter Skip Bayless, America's favorite professional instigator, armed with a thesaurus full of shade and a microphone hot enough to melt steel. While the WNBA tried to brush it off as just another play, Skip looked at the footage like he'd just discovered the Zapruder film of women's basketball and decided it was time for a televised trial. Griner in the defendant's chair. Clark, somewhere between victim and Exhibit A.
I've watched that video countless times, and it sure looks like Brittney Griner says, fucking white girl. Now, I think it was my old friend Jamel Hill, used to work with her at ESPN. I believe Jamel said Griner actually said fucking whack call, and that could be the case. I'm not a lip reader. But it sure looks to me like the last word is girl, not call. Tell me I'm wrong. So Griner didn't commit her sixth foul on Caitlin Clark. It was actually on Natasha Howard.
But let's back up. The defensive play, was the kind of thing that made even NFL linebackers wince. Griner soared through the air like she mistook Caitlin for a fly that owed her money. And Clark, bless her fundamental loving soul, took it like a rookie trying to pretend that wasn't the most traumatic thing to happen to her since Iowa cafeteria food. And just like that, the WNBA had its drama, Twitter had its trending topic, and Skip had his next monologue queued up faster than you can say ratings spike.
Well, the fact that she fouled out of the game and proceeded to get caught mouthing effing white girl. And the world all saw it. Now, some people tried to claim that it was effing whack call. I'm sorry, I don't see that in the video at all. And of course, that happened all at the same time. And oddly enough, even though the video caught fire when Riley Gaines shared the video of Brittney Griner mouthing those words after getting fouled out.
Because Skip doesn't just comment on basketball, he treats it like Shakespeare with sneakers. And when he saw Griner's flying body block, he didn't just see a foul. He saw a metaphor, a declaration, a WWE-style takedown wrapped in woke optics and league hypocrisy. And you better believe he was going to milk it like LeBron milks the clock in the final 2 minutes. Skip didn't need stats. He didn't need replays. All he needed was that slow-motion shot of Clark being flattened like a crepe on hot pavement. Suddenly, Griner wasn't a player, she was a headline. An example, a case study in what happens when a league gets so wrapped up in its own virtue signals that it forgets the basics of, sportsmanship. Of course, the defenders came running, sports journalists clutching pearls, ex-players rolling their eyes, bloggers typing with the rage of 1,000 unpaid internships. "She's a veteran, she's playing hard," they cried. Sure. And Godzilla was just trying to cross the street. Griner didn't play hard. She played like she had a vendetta and a Groupon for body slams. You don't swat the ball like that unless you're either mad at the scoreboard or confused about which sport you're playing.
Brittney Griner appearing, in my opinion, to say white girls. So we asked the WNBA, are you investigating Brittney Griner? We've asked the Atlanta Dream, what did Brittney Griner say? We've asked Brittney Griner's representatives, what did you say here? She's made zero comment. As a sports media company, we decided, okay, we'll go to the games and we'll ask Brittney Griner directly. And we requested credential for a game on the West Coast. No. And we requested a credential now for a game on the East Coast. No. This is a top-down decision. The WNBA has decided they're not going to credential Outkick because we are being too critical of their athletes, of their coaches, and of the league itself. We have ripped NFL players and teams and coaches.
And that's where Skip came in with surgical precision, slicing through the excuses like a hot-take ninja. He didn't just question Griner's aggression. He implied that she'd been skating by for years on a reputation built more on politics than performance. Caitlin Clark. Oh, Caitlin. The human cash register of the WNBA. The ratings magnet. The ticket seller, highlight reeling, assist dishing phenom who walked into the league smiling and left that court looking like she'd just been hit by a monologue from Stephen A. Smith. She didn't complain. She didn't pout. She did the one thing no one expected. She got up, dusted herself off, and probably started doing math in her head about what European team she could join where people don't confuse basketball with Mortal Kombat. Because this wasn't just about a foul. It was about a message. A welcome from the old guard. A passive-aggressive post-it note from WNBA veterans saying, "We see your fans, your endorsements, your highlights. Now here's a forearm shiver to remind you who runs this league." And the league? Silent. Like a parent at a PTA meeting who just found out their honor roll kid was caught shoplifting. But Skip was louder than ever. If the WNBA was going to play the gritty competition card, he was going to flip the table. To him, this wasn't competition, it was sabotage.
Respectfully, Brittney Griner was in a Russian prison. You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America on home soil, would not have too much to complain about. Especially something like this. Fans in every sport. She described the fans.
He even brought receipts. Not literal ones, of course, because this is Skip Bayless we're talking about. His receipts are more philosophical, more performative. He started connecting dots the league didn't want connected, from Griner's return from Russia being treated like a royal resurrection to the way she's been untouchable in criticism, since according to Skip, Griner isn't just a player, she's a media-protected asset, a brand. a narrative, and anyone who challenges that gets labeled everything from misogynist to unpatriotic. And yet, here comes Skip, swinging with all the delicacy of a chainsaw in a dollhouse. He made it clear, if the WNBA wants to grow, it can't keep protecting bad behavior just because the jersey says veteran and the player has a tragic backstory. At some point, the league has to decide, are they building a competitive sport or hosting a daytime soap with occasional layups? That's the thing about Clark. She's not just a player. She's a walking rebrand. The kind of athlete who could turn a Tuesday night WNBA game into must-see TV just by existing. But the second she starts pulling focus from the veterans who've been grinding for years without the same limelight, oh, now it's time to teach her a lesson. Funny how that works. And here's where it gets real messy, because Skip started asking the uncomfortable questions. Meanwhile, Griner, she brushed it off like lint. No apologies, no acknowledgement. Just that same steely glare that says, I've been through worse. Which sure, she has.
But it is completely possible that fucking white girl was about Caitlin Clark's popularity, about her stature, about her impact on the entire league. It's very possible that Brittney Griner was blaming Caitlin Clark in the big picture for her fouling out, blaming referees in general for overprotecting the Fever because the league wants the Fever to win and the fucking white girl to be MVP because the fucking white girl sells tickets and detonates ratings.
Skip exposed more than just Griner. He exposed the paper-thin illusion that the WNBA can grow while eating its own stars alive. He held up a mirror to the league and said, this is what's holding you back. Not the lack of talent, not the marketing, but the refusal to call out bad behavior when it wears a familiar face. And the moment he did, the floodgates opened. Griner's fans scrambled to defend her honor like she was the last clean fork in the dishwasher. She didn't mean it. It was just momentum. Caitlin flopped, sure, and Santa Claus moonlights as a ref on Tuesdays. The truth is, that play was ugly. Intentional or not, it was the kind of moment that demands accountability. And when none came, Skip brought his own. And that's what made it so satisfying. Skip Bayless, the same man who built a career out of yelling about LeBron's free throws, finally had a point. A real one. Wrapped in sarcasm, yes. Drenched in drama, absolutely. But a point nonetheless. Brittney Griner crossed a line, and instead of owning it, the league decided to act like the line didn't exist. And at the center of it all, Skip Bayless, stirring the pot with a ladle the size of his ego. And just when the league thought it could move on, sweep the chaos under the hardwood and get back to those 12 fans clapping politely in the third row, Skip Bayless turned up the heat like a chef trying to flambe the entire WNBA media narrative.
Did you catch that? Brittney Griner calling Caitlin Clark trash and an effing white girl doing a game? Now, imagine if the roles were reversed. If Caitlin had called Griner trash and followed it with effing black girl. The outrage will be instant. Headlines, public backlash, suspensions, and major sponsors pulling out. But because it was said to a white athlete, many are brushing it off or even laughing. That's a dangerous double standard.
Because now it wasn't just about Griner's flying hip check. It was about why no one was saying the obvious out loud. You know, the part where Brittney Griner gets to play by her own rules because she's been painted into this untouchable, post-traumatic, media-protected unicorn. She's not just a player, she's a walking documentary. Every time she elbows someone on the court, half the internet rushes in to explain why it's actually a statement on resilience. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark so much as breathes near a defender and suddenly she's the second coming of Becky with the good elbows. Skip wasn't having it. He lit the hypocrisy on fire and roasted marshmallows over it. He asked the forbidden questions. Why is the WNBA suddenly allergic to self-awareness? Why is criticism off limits for Griner but mandatory for Clark? If Caitlin Clark had leveled a veteran the same way Griner bulldozed her, the league would have hosted a summit on sportsmanship and CNN would have broken into their coverage with a red alert. Breaking, blonde menace strikes again. But because it was Griner? Well, now it's toughness, leadership. Veteran savvy. Veteran savvy? That wasn't savvy. And here's the kicker. The real reason Skip's takedown stung more than a Griner shoulder to the jaw. He was right. Beneath all the theater, the man actually peeled back the league's favorite curtain.
We have ripped NFL players and teams and coaches and executives to the high heavens. They've never refused an outkick credential. The NBA never refused a credential request. This is content-based discrimination. And more importantly, what does it say about the media that cover the WNBA that not one of them has asked Brittney Griner about a mega viral millions of views clip where she appears to insult white girls? They're not actual media members. They are simply propagandists.
And instead of celebrating her, some players are acting like she owes them back taxes. Griner's hit wasn't just about defense. It was a warning shot, a territorial grunt, a glitter-covered elbow that screamed, "This is our league, you're just renting space." And that's the attitude Skip dragged into the light, kicking and screaming. Because while ESPN is out here braiding friendship bracelets between the rookies and vets, the reality is a little uglier. You've got players who've been grinding for a decade with minimal attention, and suddenly here comes Caitlyn with Gatorade ads, sellout arenas, and more social media followers than the league's official account. That doesn't sit well. And instead of the league addressing it with, say, leadership, they let Brittney Griner do it with her shoulder blade. And you'd think this would be the moment where the league steps up, issues a statement, doles out a fine, a suspension, something to say, hey, we may be broke, but we're not blind. But nope, nothing. Crickets. Like Caitlyn got hit by an invisible ghost. Or maybe the league is just terrified to poke the bear when the bear has a Netflix documentary in development. So Skip filled the silence with a flamethrower. He said what everyone else was thinking, but too scared to say out loud. The league is so busy protecting feelings, it's letting the game turn into a turf war. This wasn't mentoring, this was mugging. And the silence from the front office? That's not strength, that's cowardice with a press badge.
Brittney Griner just called Caitlin Clark a trash effing white girl. Caitlin Clark has been picked on and abused ever since she entered the league in 2024, and now the character of Brittney Griner. This is the same woman who got caught smoking weed in Russia and was jailed.
But what really sent this into stratosphere-level comedy was how some of the players responded. And let's be honest, Caitlin Clark is popular, more popular than your team, more popular than your favorite player. She could sneeze and sell out a stadium, and that popularity, that's what's driving this whole mess. Not jealousy, of course. Heaven forbid. It's definitely not jealousy, it's passion. Or whatever other sanitized term the PR team used when salty doesn't pass the media training test. So when Griner made her move, it wasn't just a foul, it was the physical manifestation of resentment. A forearm full of frustration, and the league, instead of nipping it in the bud, they stood there smiling like everything's fine while their biggest asset took a hit harder than the WNBA's yearly revenue report. And this is where Skip thrives. When the spin gets too obvious. When the image starts cracking. He pounced on the double standard like it owed him money. If Caitlyn so much as shrugs at a teammate, she's entitled. If Griner throws a shoulder into someone's soul, she's competitive. Make it make sense. It's not about race, it's not about politics, it's about optics. The league wants to push a product, and Caitlin Clark is the first time in forever that people outside the WNBA Twitter echo chamber actually give a damn.
Okay, we're not gonna sit here and act like Brittney Griner was not in a Russian jail a couple of years ago. You know what I'm saying? So maybe she's still trying to adjust to regular stuff. But for you to be confused why fans are showing up to a basketball game and not to do their taxes or their homework, it's hard for me to understand it. But what do y'all think? Do y'all think since Caitlin Clark has been...
And that's the tragedy here, because Skip didn't just expose Griner, he exposed the fact that the league is scared to lose control, scared to upset the veterans, scared to admit that maybe, just maybe, the golden ticket they've been begging for has arrived, and they have no idea what to do with it. Instead of guiding Clark through the fire, they're handing her the match and tossing her into the pit. That's not a league growing, that's a league cannibalizing. And Skip? He just showed up with the receipts, the popcorn, and the fire extinguisher. Except he's spraying gasoline. Meanwhile, Griner's defenders are still spinning. She's emotional. She's passionate. She's been through so much. Sure. And so have a lot of people. Skip saw it. The fans saw it. Caitlyn's bruises definitely saw it. But the league? They're too busy stitching together a marketing campaign with glitter glue and nostalgia. This is who we are, they say, while half the league secretly wishes Caitlyn Clark would just stop being good so they could go back to being underpaid in peace.